Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Triumphal Reads, and in this video, I think I'm going to be doing, splitting this video up into two parts. It's going to be the first half of my, I guess I'm going to call it my 2020 book haul. When I got laid off in March, I had already done book hauls for January and February, but I loaded up on some books, kind of seeing the writing on the wall and stuff in March, and then I've been obviously just picking up more books off like eBay and stuff, here and there since then. But yeah, I haven't done a book haul since February, so this is gonna be my March, April, May, and June book haul, I guess, because I stopped keeping track for whatever reason, and because I wasn't doing the videos, shame on me. I guess that's kind of my punishment for that. And I think I counted up 30 books, and no one wants to see a 30 book haul. I do have like that one cringy one when I first started 2 years ago, my like 50 book haul, because I thought consumerism was the way to go. I guess with book two. But this is pretty good considering 29 out of the 30 were either used or secondhand or from like a salvage shop when I stocked up in March. So that's not bad considering, like I said, well, only one I think was like a regular priced book. Or wasn't already used or whatever. So I think that's pretty cool. Like I said, I'm gonna split this video or this book haul, 2020 book haul in half. This week or this video, I will do in my sort of history, kind of more general nonfiction reads and my Warhammer books. And then in the second part, I will be doing mostly my kind of nature-ish related stuff. If you guys have been following the channel, nature and history are my two big genres. So if you like those bookish topics, definitely hit the subscribe button. Excuse me, subscribe button. See, I'm so terrible at like selling myself. I can't get like nervous and just go subscribe or hit the bell or whatever. But anyways, and then one last thing before we get started is I will be doing my Q&A. I'll be ending the open questions or whatever from a Q&A video for hitting 2K. Probably next week, and so probably the week after that one, then I'll be doing that video. So if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. So let's just go ahead and get started. All right. So I did, like I said, I went to a salvage shop where they sell like new-ish stuff. I think it's like when they buy out stores and other things, like when they go out of business and stuff like that. I guess I'm not 100% sure. But I did end up buying, I think, 6 or 7 books there, really cheap. For example, these very short introductions, as you can see here, I love these. This like kind of set as a whole. I think they were, if I remember correctly, I think they were like 80% off or something. So it ended up being like $2.10 or something like that, something crazy for each of these titles. So I thought it was really cool. This one is not one of those, but it's kind of like the same size, so I just grabbed it with it. But it's Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of Five Rings. I already read this one. It's just kind of an interesting take on some kind of almost like Eastern Stoic philosophy. Really interesting in that aspect of philosophy. Is your thing. Miyamoto Musashi is probably considered like one of the greatest samurai who's ever lived. Fought like, I can't remember if it was like 60 something duels. He says really so at the beginning. I think he had like one draw, but like no losses and stuff. It's a pretty famous book if you're into that sort of thing. And yeah, it's a quick read, so really nothing to lose to try it out. Alright, so now on to the 4 very short introductions real quick. I'm going to try to go through these pretty quick too, because I think it's broken up to like 17 and 13 books, so still quite a bit for my hauls normally. These were just the 4 very short introductions. I probably should have just picked them all up, but I had some yesterday and put like 2 or 3 of them back. I think the other ones were just like so ridiculous. They were like concepts I will never. I think one was like fashion. I was like, as much as I would like to just add it to the collection, I'm just not going to be reading like a fashion, book. As you can see, like 90% of my videos, I'm just wearing a black shirt. So, anyways, we have HIV and AIDS by Alan Whiteside, Robert Wolkler, who wrote Rousseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. We got Robert Jones for branding, and Marvin Carlson for theater. Overall, I do enjoy this series. Like I said, I think they got like 600 titles now in the series. I've only had a couple duds out of, I think I've probably read 20 or 30 of them by now. Only like I can only think of like 1 or 2 that were just kind of like books, but most of them make you think kind of like, you kind of look at the topic from outside the box, which is really interesting considering it's kind of like it's meant for like people reading something kind of as a new topic for them. Obviously, it's a very short introduction. So like I'd say 90% of the time it is not just kind of like a little narrative history or a narrative account of whatever the topic is. So I think it's really cool just like looking at a new topic in an already kind of like innovative way. So anyways, those are the 4 titles in that series that I picked up. And actually there's two more I bought at that like salvage place. I got the Gene here, and this one I think ended up being like $2.25 or something for this massive book. Like I said, it's like it's not even a used book. But anyways, this is the Gene, an Intimate History by Siddhartha Mukherjee. I have no idea how to pronounce that. I apologize if I butchered that. I have seen this on like a bazillion lists in different things like genetics and biology. Obviously, I read a lot of nature books. So, like I said, I've seen this one on numerous lists. Don't really know too much about it. Obviously, genes are kind of encoding blocks, like little portions of our DNA and stuff. So obviously heavily influenced in a lot of my like nature reads. Genes are referred to with different like evolutionary traits and everything. So this is a pretty monster book though, to be honest. I think it's like over 500 pages. I think it's about 500 pages with like another like 50 pages of like footnotes and stuff and a bibliography and whatever. So yeah, definitely will be reading this at some point. But like I said, it is kind of an intimidating monster book there. Alright, and then the last one at that salvage store was The Undiscovered Islands, an archipelago of myths and mysteries, phantoms, and fakes by Malaki Talek. And this book is all about different places on the map, especially like islands and stuff, that people thought existed, and like people were going, explorers were going out like searching for them, and then in the end, you know, they turn out not to exist. So they exist on maps, but not in real life. So I thought it was kind of an interesting concept for a book, and it's got tons of like maps and illustrations and stuff in the book. So it's kind of like a quirky little thing, but I thought it was kind of neat. Like I said, I'm just kind of into just like weird stuff like that. And I think if I remember correctly, like all those books, I think ended up being like $12 right there. So I thought that was a great deal. So let's go on to some history. Alright, for a World War I book, I found Back Over There, One American Time Traveler, 100 Years Since the Great War, 500 Miles of Battle-Scarred French Countryside, and Too Many Trenches, Shells, Legends, and Ghost Account by Richard Rubin. I've been really slacking on my World War I history. That's pretty much the only real topic that I study in any depth at all, beyond like the Renaissance era. Like I said, read tons of ancient Greek, Roman, classical, anything medieval history, but ones like the Renaissance, I kind of just go, yeah, like just drop off the face of the earth. But except for World War I, except last year, I only think I read like 3 or 4 books on World War I. Definitely need to bring that up a little bit. I thought this was kind of a neat sort of like travelogue, modern account. I think it's gonna just have like vignettes of World War I from, like I said, kind of this person traveling to like all the different sites and stuff along the French countryside and everything like that. So I thought it'd be kind of a kind of a more calm, poignant type of read on World War I. Alright, now we got a bunch of ancient history, if I remember. Okay, I got 1 medieval book and then 3 ancient histories. So we're going with the Fourth Crusade in the Sack of Constantinople by Jonathan Phillips. The Fourth Crusade is a crusade that gets neglected a lot in history, but the main gist of it is the crusader states bargain with Venice to get some ships, attack a bunch of Christian cities, and then get sidetracked and go attack Constantinople. India. That's basically what happens in the Fourth Crusade. So definitely they kind of go off on like a wild tangent, and you know it's pretty much the end of Constantinople. Like the power is broken. Even though that's another like 200 years, it's essentially just like a city-state in the Bosphorus. So, and I apologize if you can hear my dog. She is jumping in the bathtub for some reason and just like walking in circles in the bathtub. I have no idea why, but you can hear her nails like clicking. Well, maybe if you can't, then you're just like, what is this guy talking about? But I can definitely hear the nails clicking and whatever. But so there are definitely interesting characters. Just for example, the Doge of Venice at the time, what's his name? Enrico Dandolo, I believe. He's like 90 years old and he's blind, and he like leads contingents and stuff. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, Fourth Crusade. Need to learn a little bit more about it. I've never read a work specifically on the Fourth Crusade. Obviously I've read about it in passing and kind of like other works that I've mentioned it, but I kind of would like something in a little bit more detail. So 3 more ancient histories, and I'm going to have my goal here is to have the biggest Punic War collection of books, Punic books, on the Punic Wars ever. Like anytime I see one, I have like no choice but to pick it up. I have a list that's already like 40-50 books long to add to it. But anyways, this one is Hannibal's War. I think I saw this on bitterworldbooks.com, and I don't know anything about it except it's called Hannibal's War. So it's like, yep, okay, that's going in. It's on the clearance sale. So it's by John Petty. I've never heard of him, but like I said, it's a book on the Punic Wars, and that's pretty much why I picked it up. I have, let's see, I got about 2/3 of one of these shelves on the Punic War, so just add this one to the collection. And actually, the next one I will be adding as well to that collection, except this one I do know a little bit more about. This is Cannae, Hannibal's Greatest Victory by Adrian Goldsworthy. Adrian Goldsworthy has written a ton of popular books on ancient Rome. I think he's written a book on Augustus, I believe, and maybe one on Caesar. Cannae, if you guys don't know, is probably Hannibal's most famous victory against the Romans, where at the fields of Cannae he probably killed, there was a double consular army of about 80,000 Romans, and then with about half the number of troops, Hannibal was able to defeat, annihilate approximately 3/4 of that Roman army. And this was like his third trifecta battle after the River Trebia and Lake Trasimene each year before that. So 3 victories right in a row. And like I said, Cannae was definitely the nadir of kind of like Roman morale and stuff. Even though they did stick through it and whatever, but Cannae still, I think, taught like in military schools and stuff for like kind of the double envelopment maneuver and whatever. But anyways, I do encourage you guys to read Adrian Goldsworthy if you're into like ancient Roman history. He's pretty famous in that field. And I lied, there was one more tiny book before the last Roman book, but it's this little tiny, The Greek and Macedonian Art of War by Effie Adcock. This was on my TBR list for a long time, and I think it was like $2 or $1.50 or something, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna like pick that one up. It's a really short read. It's all about, I think the majority of it is about Alexander's like phalangites and kind of like how they use the sarissa and things like that, with their phalanx formations and stuff, obviously with the Greek and Macedonian Art of War. But it's a pretty famous book in like kind of like the niche field of like ancient Greek history, so I just kind of like picked that one up as well. Alright, and then the last, for real this time, the last history book is The Ruin of the Roman Empire, New History by James O'Donnell. I have read another book, Pagans, by the same author, and it was kind of like middle of the road type book, so I was like, I think there's so many like end of the Roman Empire books or the fall of Rome books that I'm like, I might as well start like cataloging them and reading some. I'm not really sure how new this book is. Like really a lot of the thought processes are kind of the standard issue now, where Rome did not really fall in 476 to the it did to the Ostrogoths, but really like all Roman kind of like cultural things were like still going on for at least another about 100 years or so. And like for the average person that lived in Rome, nothing really changed from 400 to like 550 or so. It wasn't until the Ostrogothic Wars under Justinian. So anyways, like I said, this isn't really breaking any new ground per se, but it is as you can already tell, I've already read this one, but it does deal a lot with like Theodoric the Great. So it's, what am I trying to say? I guess it's an okay history, but it's definitely not anything new if you've already read another book kind of on ancient Rome. Also, he does not like Justinian at all. He's very anti-Justinian, so there is that. Which is actually pretty fair to say, because Justinian's kind of like Napoleon. You either like love him or you hate him. There's almost like no middle ground and stuff. So anyways, those were the history books. Now on to 4 Warhammer books I got. And this is kind of interesting because 3 of them are 40k. I've only read, I think, 3 books in the 40k universe. But let's start with one of the Horus Heresy ones. Or, I guess it's during the age of the Horus Heresy. But it's one of the Primarch series. It's actually the first one that I physically own. I've read a couple for NetGalley and stuff. This one is David Guymer's Ferrus Manus, Gorgon of Medusa. Ferrus Manus is the Primarch of the Iron Hands Legion, who are like really good like mechanics and stuff and like weaponsmiths. Don't really know too much about him except for his instant fulgrim, if you know Warhammer stuff, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to give away any too many spoilers. But it's actually pretty common knowledge in like Warhammer stuff. But anyways, onto actually I think this one is actually Horse Heresy. Actually, I think this is almost like pre-Horse Heresy. This one, it's about. This is the only one that I actually bought new because I thought it just was something I really kind of wanted. Plus, Valor Constantine has the same haircut as me now since quarantine. But anyways, it's Valor Birth of the Imperium by Chris Wright. I'm not sure if I've read any. I don't think I've read any Warhammer books by Chris Wright. But I do have another one right there. But Valor Constantine is like the. I'm not sure exactly what his title is, like Battle Captain or something of the. Does it say on the back? I don't see it real fast, but anyways, he's the he's like the senior officer of the Legio Custodes, who are the Emperor of Mankind's like actual bodyguards. So they're kind of a little bit different from the Space Marines and stuff, which is really interesting. And like I said, don't know anything about them. They're kind of mysterious in a lot of like the Warhammer lore and stuff, because they're very similar to the Space Marines, but they're still like completely different. And this is, I think, the first book that's kind of like using them as like the main protagonists and stuff, so that's kind of why I picked them up. Plus, Valdor Constantine is actually a pretty cool character in the Horus Heresy when you read like the Siege of Terra and the Horus Heresy series. All right, and then the next book by Chris Wright is Watchers of the Throne, Book 1, The Emperor's Legion, also obviously by Chris Wright. And this is all about the Legio Custodes in the 40k universe, so 10,000 years after like Valdor Constantine, when you go back to like 40k stuff. Like I said, I just kind of want to learn more about them. I've never read anything about them. I don't even know if like I said, I don't know if there's really any other books on them besides Valdor, this one, and then the sequel, which I can't remember. I think it comes out in a couple of months. Not sure exactly, but like I said, don't think there's any other books off the top of my head that really exclusively deal with the Legio Custodes. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Emperor's Bodyguard is doing, you know, once the Emperor is basically the corpse god, like on the golden throne and stuff. So I think that'd be pretty cool. And then the last Warhammer book that I just recently started here is Honorbound, a Severina Rain novel by Rachel Harrison. I've been really enjoying Gaunt's Ghost by Dan Abnett. And Abram Gaunt is a commissar in the Imperial Man. Severina Rain is a female commissar, so I thought that was going to be kind of a cool look into the 40k universe, kind of them branching out with like female characters and everything. Plus the cover is pretty swag, I gotta say. Not gonna lie, like I said, I figured out who these Hellcats characters are if you read or watched one of my earlier videos. That's the Antauri rifles and stuff. I guess some of them wear this like crazy like Helghast like stormtrooper arm, like carapace armor. But anyways, been really enjoying it so far. It's definitely cool to see like some female protagonists that actually like, you know, basically kick a lot of ass like in the 40k universe. In Horus Heresy, there's actually a lot of female characters, but usually they're like remembrancers, who are basically just like regular humans doing like human stuff alongside the Space Marines, while the Space Marines do all the like work and whatever. So anyways, like I said, it's been really fun so far. I hope they continue this on as a series. I think this is the only book so far in the Severina Rain stuff. I think there's a couple short stories that I might pick up, but I think that's only a full-length novel. But I'm hoping they continue that on, because I think the book so far, about halfway through, is turning out really well. So there you have it. Those are all my History and Warhammer books that I picked up in the past 4 months. I'll be on to the nature books in the next video, so stay tuned for that if that's what you're looking for. But anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave some comments down below, check out Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of cool stuff. Leave some comments about your favorite book that you picked up since quarantine started, because yeah, like I said, this is just like the past 4 months of books. Either the best one you read or the best one that you want to read that you picked up. I'll leave some comments down below. And if you have any questions, don't forget to add those as well. And I hope you all enjoyed the video, and whatever you're reading, read victoriously.